Hey guys, welcome back to our Vodcast for World War II. In this session, we're going to talk about the Battle of Britain. Now, this is going to be a very short Vodcast, but it's very important because it's at this point where Hitler faces and suffers his first defeat at the hands of his enemies. Hitler's plan, as you watch the map in Vodcast number 2, was to move across Europe and then take England and then work his way back. Well, eventually he'll work his way back to try to take Russia. So we're right at this point, we're at the edge of Europe, and Hitler's getting ready to attack England. The women and children of England know what's coming, and they're preparing. They're building shelters, and they're putting up all kinds of defenses. Hitler's first phase was to attack the coast. Hitler has the English Channel that he has to cross, and he could do it easily. It's not very wide. People have swam the English Channel. But sitting on the shoreline in England are England's defenses. They're waiting for an attack. So phase 1 of Hitler's plan is to attack the coastal defenses, take them out. Phase 2 would be to move the troops in, take the cities. Phase 3 would be to take over the entire continent, or United Kingdom, if you will. Let's watch, see what happens. Now, as I said, England becomes Hitler's first defeat. You can see the air raids on the coastal cities were not effective. They destroyed a lot of targets, but they were not effective in destroying everything. And so the coastal defenses for England withstood the test. And then Hitler, infuriated after suffering his first defeat in battle, orders what's known as a Blitzkrieg. The definition of a Blitzkrieg by the online dictionaries is a lightning attack, and that's exactly what Hitler had planned. He ordered his bombers to attack all targets, civilian or non-civilian, populated areas or business areas. It doesn't matter. In the top picture here you see what probably is a church in the background and the smoke from all the fires from the bombings. On the right hand side you see the people in the next morning surveying the damage. But no matter how many times this would occur and how many times this would happen in London, they would hide in their shelters. And if you're familiar with the Chronicles of Narnia, at the very beginning of the movie, the very first one, the family's in the shelters, and they got all the shades pulled, the lights turned out, and everybody's in their shelters, and there's just bombing going on all over the place. It's very kind of a crazy time. Obviously, if you can imagine your town being bombed day in and day out, constant bombardment. This is interesting too, because the stories of Peter Pan come around from this time. Moms would tell the little children, in order to distract them from what was actually happening, they would tell them that there were pirates fighting up in the sky. And so the stories of Peter Pan and Captain Hook were created. No matter how much London was bombed, though, the people of England woke up every morning, swept off the sidewalk as best as they could, opened up their stores as best they could, and you can see here carried on with business as usual. And this probably infuriated Hitler more than the failure to take the coastal cities, because he wanted to crush their spirit. He blamed France and he blamed England for the Treaty of Versailles, for how Germany had been treated at the end of World War I, and he wanted to demoralize them. He did so with France, forcing them to sign an armistice in that same train car, and now he wanted to destroy England, and he's unable to do so. With Hitler being stalled on the west coast of France, he thinks England is destroyed enough where they will not be able to mount an offensive against him. He turns his back and heads back east to tackle Russia. The reason he signed the non-aggression pact with Russia was to protect his eastern front so that he could focus on his western front. He did not want to fight a battle on two fronts. He fails here, so now he's heading back east to take on Russia. But before he can do so, something pops up, something he did not expect. Remember Mussolini down in Italy? He had ordered Mussolini to take Yugoslavia and Albania and Greece. Well, they have Albania, but Mussolini fails to take Greece. So on his way back east, Hitler has to take his army, take Yugoslavia, take Greece, and eventually Crete. Now Now these events do two things. One, they slow Hitler's advance eastward down. They slow him down a little bit. And that's detrimental because he wanted to get to Russia. Hitler wanted to get to Russia before the Russian winter set in. People throughout history who've attacked Russia have been have been stalled by this Russian winter. Some have even been completely wiped out by this Russian winter. It's just a horrible season in Russia. The people living there are used to it, but that's because they live there. Any invader has always tried to attack Russia, want to do so before or after the Russian winter, just destroyed if they're not successful. So these events down here, Mussolini's failure to take Greece, delay Hitler in getting to Russia. Also, for the Russians, this delay that Hitler has to complete here allowed them to fortify the border in key points and move their civilians out of these small towns. And as they do so, they destroy everything they leave behind. Their cities or their small towns, their farms, everything is destroyed. Whatever livestock they couldn't take with them, they kill. They did this so that the advancing German army would have nothing to feed off of. They cannot use the land in any way, shape, or form. We call that scorched earth or guerrilla warfare, if you will. And the people, the citizens of Russia, not enlisted men, not enlisted soldiers, they became fighters for Russia. So you can see the German advance is fairly successful in taking the western part of Russia. They did take the city of Leningrad, named after Vladimir Lenin. They almost reached Moscow, and it's off the map, they almost reached Stalingrad. Stalingrad's a huge battle in which the Germans are pushed back. The area of the map that you see right here that's in red, that is the extent of Hitler's conquest of Europe. He does not gain any more land other than what you see. From this point on, Hitler holds this land for a short time, but then he slowly starts to lose it. And that's because of two things. The Russian winter sets in. The Russians are able to make advances. England recoups, and the United States gets involved in the war. And that will be our Vodcast number 4. And everyone after that will talk about how Hitler is eventually defeated. Hope you enjoy it. Talk to you later.